Come on. Thank you and good evening. Welcome to tonight's Fort Wayne Community Schools Board of Trustees scheduled meeting. We start tonight's meeting with our Pledge of Allegiance as we do all our meetings. If you please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we'll do board roll call. Steve, do you mind?
Good evening, Steve Corona from the 5th District.
Good evening, Maria Norman, Member at Large.
Julie Hollingsworth, District 1.
Antoinette Payne, District 4.
Jennifer Mathias, District 2.
Willie Burton, District 3.
And to my left is, I'm Noah Smith, President and Member at Large, and to my left is Dr. Mark Daniel, Superintendent, and Angie Filler, our Board Secretary. Thank you. Tonight, it's a special night for some of us in particular. We are looking to honor and recognize one of the longtime staff and employee members of Fort Wayne Community Schools. It is recommended that the Board of School Trustees recognize longtime Snyder High School educator, coach, and athletic director Russ Isaacs for his induction into the National High School Athletic Coaches Association Hall of Fame in June of 2026. The National High School Athletic Coaches Association Hall of Fame honors coaches whose careers have demonstrated exceptional leadership, achievement, and service to high school athletics. Isaacs joins an elite group of coaches from across the nation who have made a lasting impact on students, schools, and their communities. Coach Isaacs began his career at Snyder High School in 1976 as a teacher and assistant football coach, helping build the foundation for what would become one of Indiana's premier football programs. In 1991, he became head football coach, a position he held through until 2008. During his tenure, he compiled 194 career victories and led the Panthers to their first IHSAA football state championship. In 1992, he then guided the team to the state runner-up finishes in 2002 and 2004. Under his leadership, Snyder earned statewide reputation for excellence, discipline, and sportsmanship. Following Coach Isaacs' career of coaching, he served as Snyder's athletic director until his retirement in 2014. He has continued to mentor students, coaches, and remaining an important part of the Snyder Panther football program in the Snyder community. In 2014, upon his retirement, he's inducted into the Indiana Football Hall of Fame in recognition of his outstanding contributions to the sport. In recognition of Coach Isaacs' dedication to Snyder High School and the countless students, athletes, and families he has impacted, Snyder High School's first on-campus stadium, 50-some-odd years late, will be named in his honor. The stadium will forever stand as a tribute to a man whose leadership, character, and commitment helped shape the proud tradition of Panther athletics in the Snyder community. Now, Coach Isaacs, there are a few folks that wanted to weigh in on this other than the board, and so I've asked my fellow board members to read a statement from people who have submitted various thoughts and comments in honor of this evening and your recognition, Coach. So, Steve, if you don't mind, to start with comments that we received.
Yeah. I have been asked to read the following statement from John Hauser, the former principal of Wayne High School. John is on vacation in Ireland this week. Before John took the job at Wayne, he served as an assistant to Russ, I believe 13 years. And that experience, writes John, helped him gain the confidence, vision, and work ethic to serve as a building principal. John says Russ positively affected thousands of young men and women, and today those former students fill the jobs in our schools, hospitals, law offices, law enforcement positions, nonprofit groups, and elsewhere. John's daughters served as ball girls for the football team, and he says they attribute much of their joy in high school to this experience. I am so fortunate, says John, for working with a man who lived and modeled leadership every single day. And when I think of my 13 years with Snyder football, his core tenets became the foundation of my principalship at Wayne High School. Here are 3 examples that John learned from Russ. 1, never ask anyone to do something you will not do yourself. The trash on the floor is our trash. Pick it up. If a ride is late picking up a student or athlete, be the last one out the door to ensure that young person gets home safely. Number 2, be loyal and true to your school. Always wear your logo to Kroger or wherever you are. Wear your school colors when you put on a suit and tie. Hard to believe, but that's what John writes. And never wear another school's color like orange. Number 3, the doors of the school are there to welcome students. And as principals, coaches, and teachers, it is our duty to allow them to flourish in their education and life. John closes by saying, Ike, thank you so much for the time we worked together. Thank you for believing in me. May God bless you for the devotion and love to Snyder and to all who call themselves Panthers. John
Thank you,
Houser.
Steve. Maria?
Yeah. I have a statement on behalf of Terry McKinney, and Terry graduated in 1989. And he writes, Coach Isaacs was, without a doubt, the single most influential man in my life during my formative years. Looking back, I can say with complete certainty that my adult life would have turned out vastly different without Coach Ike's guidance through those pivotal high school years. He had a unique gift for seeing potential where others saw limits. He pushed me tirelessly to maximize whatever ability I had, and more importantly, he demanded and encouraged me to become the best man I could possibly be. Today, as I raise my own 16-year-old son, a young man who is the mere image of who I was at that age, I find myself leaning every single day on the invaluable lessons Coach Isaacs taught me. The principles he instilled in us on the field continue to guide how I lead my family today. There are simply too many memories to list without getting overwhelmed with emotion, but I want to say this. Thank you, Coach Ike, for your belief, your discipline, and your unwavering leadership. Your impact on you impacted lives in all of us. Thank you, Coach Ike, for everything you've done for our school, our community, and the generations of men you helped build.
Thank you, Maria. Julie?
And this is from Bill Anderson, class of '87. For the past 50 years, Coach Russ Isaacs has been the heart and soul of Snyder High School football. His unwavering commitment to the program, his players, and Fort Wayne Community Schools has left an immeasurable mark on generations of young men. More than wins and championships, Coach Isaacs' greatest achievement has been the lives that he has shaped. For 5 decades, he has helped turn countless boys into young men of character, discipline, and integrity. Whether you were coached by him, taught by him, or had the privilege of working alongside him, you were better because of his influence. Coach Isaacs had a unique ability to encourage, motivate, and challenge those around him. And of course, there was the legendary Russ Isaacs stare, a look that could inspire anyone to raise their level of effort and do better without a single word. His legacy of service, leadership, and dedication will be forever remembered and deeply appreciated by all those whose lives he touched. Thank you, Coach Isaacs, for 50 extraordinary years of making a difference in the Snyder High School family, Fort Wayne Community Schools, and the Fort Wayne community.
Thank you, Tony.
All right. This is on behalf of Brandon Phelps, class of 2013 and current Snyder teacher and coach. And he writes, when he thinks about Coach Ike, we will get as our works deserved. Every choice has a consequence, and every choice has an impact on your life. Care more about your teammates more than you do yourself. Brandon didn't have the opportunity to play for Coach Ike, but he has been fortunate to work alongside him for the past 10 years. Coach Ike built a standard of excellence that continues to guide this program today. He understood that athletics was about more than wins and losses. It was about learning to work hard, caring about others more than you do yourself, and developing young people to be the best versions of themselves. There is nobody more deserving of having this stadium named after Coach Ike. This stadium represents everything he has given to Snyder. Brandon is forever grateful to have had the opportunity to coach alongside him and learn from him. Brandon congratulates Coach Ike on this incredible honor and thanks him for everything that he has done for Snyder football.
Thank you. Jennifer?
My letter is from current coach Kurt Tippmann, former player, former student. Coach Isaacs has been ingrained in the fabric of Snyder High School for over 50 years. Throughout that time, he has served in multiple roles, all of which he has used to greatly impact the lives of the students and adults at Snyder. As a business teacher, wrestling coach, dean of students, assistant and head football coach, and eventual athletic director, nobody in the history of Snyder High School has had a more positive impact on the number of students as Coach Ike. His influence is marked in everything we do in the football program. I would say his influence has spread throughout the district as those at Snyder throughout his years have gone on to careers in the district and are implementing what they have learned under Ike. His standard of doing what is right and keeping education at the forefront of all things in education has been a constant in our program. His commitment to excellence has been a model for how to go about the daily activities of teaching, learning, and playing sports for high school kids. There is no better model of what we want in Fort Wayne Community Schools than has been demonstrated by Ike for years. Honoring him with naming the stadium will be a constant reminder of that model and what it takes to be successful at educating kids through school and through sport.
Thank you. Willie Burton?
Yeah, well, I don't have any prepared speech, but I definitely want to speak from the heart to Coach Ike. I am one of the lucky ones that was able to play for Coach Isaacs, also work with him and coach under him on the football coaching staff for several years, and also was a student at Snyder. And speaking on behalf of the 1992 state championship team, which I was a member of, we definitely want to thank Coach Ike for bringing us together and allowing us to create an inseparable bond. And me knowing Coach Ike, he doesn't want all the credit for this, but because of his leadership, we were able to go undefeated and create a brotherhood. And like many of the quotes you heard, we learned hard work, discipline, and to make sure that we treat and care for one another more than we do ourselves. And we love getting together time and time again, even as older adults. And the first thing that we do is talk about our coaches, Coach Ike, Coach Arnold, who's in the audience, Coach Bush, right? And as co-founder of the Snyder Football Alumni Network, we often hear stories that go back years and years and years, and that makes the beauty of creating this awesome network so that guys like myself and other former players that span over the generations are able to remember and, you know, understand how much Snyder football means to us as players and how much being a part of this awesome program, which has been led by awesome men, you know, starting with Coach Hawley, who's here with us tonight, and now being ran by Coach Tippmann, who unfortunately couldn't be here. But it's the same message over the decades with Snyder football. You're going to work hard, and you're going to care about others more than you do yourself. And Coach Isaacs is the forefront of that. I'm also lucky to have my son, who's a senior right now, get to experience some of Coach Isaacs' leadership, and also a cousin who he coaches hands-on with in Bryson Burton. So our family is in depth with Coach Isaacs and the Snyder football program, a long history of Burtons that played at Snyder. We are forever thankful to Coach Hawley, Coach Isaacs, Coach Tippmann, and the whole Snyder family. And there's no other man that's more deserving of this honor. Congratulations on the National Hall of Fame. But we have a good one here within our school district in Coach Isaacs, and no better way to honor him than having our stadium at Snyder High School being named the Russ Isaacs Football Stadium.
Thank you, Dr. Daniel.
Well said. That was well done. So, having played against Snyder and also coached against Snyder, they were always the team that you knew you had to bring your A game. And never won against them as a player, but we did win a few times as coach with Coach Dorfler. So, but those were always you had to bring your A game. But more importantly, I think it's what we've heard here this evening. It's also the building of character. And good friend of mine, Jeff Petrie, he's not here today, but I think he's going to be here maybe on the 10th, I'm hoping, or one of those days. But anyway, Jeff and I have conversations, and again, Jeff and I both graduated from Northside, and yet Jeff was always connecting with Coach to figure out how to best serve and meet the kids' needs. Bring people along, make them better. So, Russ, that's what you're all about. Appreciate your dedication to Snyder High School, but also I'll just say you've influenced the entire district. And when you do that, I think at least we could do is name a stadium after you. So congratulations.
And I'll not get quite the last word, but from my perspective, like Willie, we're both former Snyder football alumni and graduates of Snyder. And this has a Snyder feel tonight. I appreciate that and understand that. But we do represent the whole district. And my hope and belief and dream is there's a Russ Isaacs at Elmhurst. Was a nice Russ Isaacs at Elmhurst. There is or was one at Northside, Northrop, Southside, and Wayne. I firmly believe there were. They may not be someone I know as well or know of as well. But luckily for me, I was a Snyder High School Panther. And Coach Hawley asked me when he was working one morning, why am I not playing football? And I was 6'4" at the time, and about $150. And I'd played football for a number of years, decided to try tennis. And Coach Kilmer, another great coach, decided to cut me, which to me one of the best favors of my life. So, so when we welcomed 186 new teachers today to Fort Wayne Community Schools, I hope one of those becomes a Russ Isaacs. And I know Coach Isaacs hopes that too. That's one of the great things about Coach Isaacs. All the things that were read, I can't improve upon. Many are classmates and friends that I asked to reach out to make those statements by one of my fellow board members to share those with the community. One of the first times I met Dr. Daniel, his comment was, challenge the kids and they'll rise to the occasion. And not all do. Unfortunately, not all do that. But many do. I would argue that Willie is one. I believe I'm one. I never would have dreamed I'd be in this seat or this role. But Coach Isaacs, Coach Hawley, Coach Arnold, all the way back to middle school, Coach Arnold's son Mike in elementary school was my Y-ball coach, all pushed me and my classmates and friends to do better, get more out of us, and as Willie said, respect and love one another, including your opponents, which was always fun. And one time I didn't do a very good job of that, and Coach Hawley let me know that. So I was excited because we were beating Northrop that day, which was what we were wanting to do, but I got a little overzealous. So I also want to note and thank, in particular, Dr. Daniel and Rosie Shipman in particular, two very key members to make this stadium happen. Without them, I don't think the creativity of Rosie's financial acumen and the will of Dr. Daniels and the support of the other board members. Thank you. Steve's been on this board a long time. I don't know how many times this has been discussed to become an idea or a thought, but we really made it happen. The other thing I'll say is Dr. Daniel mentioned officially on August 10th, we will be cutting a ribbon and dedicating it, and then we will host our school board meeting after that. But Coach, I just want to say I'm really proud to be a part of this, excited to put the stamp of approval on naming it. And just really appreciate you and all the efforts you've done for myself, my friends and classmates, and fellow Snyder Panthers like me before me and after. And with that, I'd like to have Coach Marv Arnold take the microphone as he is willing to make a statement.
Okay, I first want to thank the school board for giving us a stadium. Well needed. I was fortunate enough to coach for 20 years with Russ. He was my boss to start out with. I was the defensive line coach, and he was the linebacker coach, and my job was to keep the offensive linemen off his linebackers so they could make it to tackle. So that worked very well. He is the single most important person at Snyder High School in the 30 years I spent there. And I'll tell you what, if we have a stadium, I'm going to get a poster that says, "Tell your mom you love her." Best thing you had. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Next, Coach Mike Hawley, please.
Again, like, this working?
Yep.
Because I can't hear anymore.
Join the
I want to thank the school board and Mark Daniels. I appreciate what you've done for Snyder High School. You know, I spent 41 years at Snyder as a teacher, coach, and athletic director, and you've made our dreams come true in the Snyder school community, and Rosie as well. Thank you very much. Now, I'm going to say a little bit more than Marvin, and I'm going to face Russ, if you don't mind. I'm not disrespecting you. I get this thing off. It's been a long time since I've done this kind of stuff, you know? Okay, Russ, here we go. You know, it was 50 years ago this month that you came you came to Snyder, and my wife Jan and I and my son Ryan were sitting out in front of the school on the steps, or on the curb, really, in front of the gym. And you came for an interview. And you were an assistant football coach coming in, and you met with me and Jan and Ryan. And by the way, Ryan, my son, played on the championship game of '92 with Willie, and which was quite an honor for he and our family. And so Russ came to us, and we showed him our football facility, which wasn't much, but it's all we had. At that point, I asked Russ if he was interested in a job, and he said yes, he was. And so he was hired right there on the spot in July of 1976. And a few things I need to let you know about Russ is he was coming to us from the egg capital of the world. And that's true. If you've ever been to Mentone, Indiana, and that big sign on there, it's the egg capital of Indiana, or the world. Well, that's where he came from Mentone, Indiana, and a small rural school of Tippecanoe Valley, which had a very good football tradition as well. And I knew his coach over there, Charlie, and Charlie recommended Russ as well, and we started off at that point. And we had several meetings, staff meetings, prior to the 1976 season. And at one of our staff meetings, Russ said this, and he probably wish he hadn't. You know what I'm going to say. Well, up at the Valley, well, I tell you what, Coach Arnold, Coach Fast, Coach Bush, and myself told him in no uncertain terms he wasn't up at the Valley any longer. He was at Snyder High School, and we play football, Snyder football. And Russ remembers that quite well, I'm sure, because several times we'd say up at the Valley, because we're no longer up in the Valley. Well, Russ has done many, many things during the time. He was one of my assistant coaches. He was a defensive coordinator, and he had great leadership among our players and among our coaches. Russ has done an outstanding job at Snyder. Anybody that's done what he's done for 50 years, you know, that's quite an accomplishment in itself. You know, I did it for 41 years, and I don't know how long Marvin did it for, 43. But for 50 years, he's still going. He's still coaching. He's one of the assistant coaches under Coach Tippmann. But Russ, I just want to say, from all of our former players and all of our former coaches, This is quite an honor, and it's well-deserved. You deserve to have this stadium named after you. And we're very, very proud of you, and we're going to be there on that first game. And we hope to beat the heck out of, I said heck, out of East Noble, and which is unusual for me, as some of you know. We got Warsaw first, and we got East Noble, but I can't wait to that East Noble game and see the Panthers again. Thanks again for helping our football program and all you've done for Snyder High School. I appreciate it. And thanks for the school board for giving me the opportunity to talk. And we did play against Mark. Yeah. And he was a quarterback at Northside, and a darn good quarterback. And was Brownie your coach?
Dickerson.
Myron Dickerson? Oh, yeah, Myron was his coach. Okay. And Dwayne must have been the AD at that point.
Yes.
Okay, that's it for me.
Last but not least, Coach Russ Isaacs, if you don't mind heading to the front. We'll let you speak too, if you want to come up here to this microphone. And then we want to congratulate you and get a picture or two or three. So, National High School Hall of Fame coach Russ Isaacs.
Let me reiterate what Marvin and Coach Hawley have already said about our gratitude to you, school board, Dr. Daniel, and we know what you did, Rosie. We know how important you were in the whole process, okay? Thank you for the recognition. The award, the Hall of Fame award was very humbling. I feel very honored to have had that recognition, and the stadium being named after me is amazing. Let me elaborate a little bit of what Coach Hawley said, and please be clear on the fact that in 1976, when our staff was put together and Coach Hawley was hired, he told us one thing. He said, "We are going to be tough." He said, because Snyder's not been tough, and well, we 10 years old, 11 years old at that time, football program, and Mike made the determination that the first thing we were going to do is instill toughness. Now, about the Valley comment, let me go on with that a little bit. He went on to say, you're not allowed to say anything for 2 years. He told me I couldn't talk for 2 years because I was young and they knew a lot more than I did, and I was just supposed to sit there and shut up, and that's what I did. And it's probably the best advice I ever got. Be quiet and listen. My wife is here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you to all of the football coaching wives.
Sorry, she's the best. All the players, John Hauser. Here's what the award and the naming represents. For 50 years and 6 decades, I've had the privilege to work with amazing teachers, incredible administrators, staff that did everything they could for the kids, and student athletes that were willing to be pushed and driven to pursue excellence. And Coach Hawley set that tone, because we coach hard. I mean, we don't hide it. We don't ever mistreat kids, but we coach hard. If they're not working as hard as they can, we tell them in a very direct manner. And we tell them we love them every day. Like Marvin said, one of the best things I did in my coaching career is after every game, the last thing I would say to the kids before they went home was, tell your mother you love her. After every game. We tried to frame everything that we have done, and Kurt continued. Let me talk about Kurt a little bit. He's as good as it gets. I'm telling you, there is no better high school coach in this country than Kurt Tippmann. no better teacher, no better mentor. He uses technology as much as he possibly can to enhance our environment, okay? Our job as adults is to create an environment where kids can flourish. That's our job. And he does it better than anyone. There's just no one better than Kurt Tippmann. There really isn't. He teaches AP calculus, teaches the toughest subjects in the school, and no one works harder than he does. No one works harder than he does. So we're very fortunate that he continues to direct the program. And as I mentioned, it all started with Coach Hawley, Coach Arnold. Coach Hauser was incredibly important to the program. But the naming the statement after me and the award, and this is going to be my last statement, represents that I have worked with amazing, wonderful, loving, caring, talented people for 50 years. I had a very, very small role, a very small role. If all those other folks and the kids hadn't been there, we would not have experienced the success that we did. We simply wouldn't have. So Lou Gehrig said, I'm the luckiest man on the face of the earth when he was honored by the Yankees. And I would echo that comment. I was so fortunate to have the opportunity to go to Snyder High School every year. And now we're very fortunate that had a superintendent that did everything he could to make the stadium happen, and Rosie. And let me tell you what I used to say. Over the course of the years, people would ask me about the administration at Fort Wayne Community Schools. And I would say, and I said it many, many times, the best thing about central administration in regards to football at Snyder High School is they don't give a damn. And the worst thing about about the administration in Fort Wayne Community School is they don't give a damn. All they cared about was, do a good job, work hard, do what's good for kids, and they supported us. But we, never had a stadium, and now we have a stadium. So thank you. Thank you. It's great that it's happening for Coach Hawley, Coach Arnold, and everybody else. And I'm honored and overwhelmed. Thank you.
Coach, we're going to get a picture. I want to get a picture. Yeah. Anybody else welcome to come get a picture? I know Lily and I want to. Yeah.
We just stand up behind you.
Let me get a picture of these two first. Then you can get these two guys.
Coach Arnold, start walking. I think. How are you going up there? Come on.
Rosie.
Come on up here, Wood. Big guys.
How these little guys get in here?
Good job. Good job.
So I graduated from Belmont in 1992, and the only thing I remember from football was playing Snyder.
Let me make one more comment. I want to talk about Coach Arnold. Back in the day, we had a great running back by the name of Vaughn Dunbar, who went, he went on to Indiana, was an All-American, and finished very high in the Heisman Trophy voting, and went on to play in the NFL. And when he was in high school, Marv said, in all of his wisdom, that ball doesn't weigh very much. He can carry it a lot. And Vaughn carried it a lot when he was there.
He sure did.
Mr. President, as long as we're promoting the team spirit here, it's important to recognize our role in approving the project, Rosie finding the money, but it also goes to Darren Hess, our Executive Director of Facilities and Operations, and Heather Krebs, who is also involved in that project. It was built on time. It's going to be ready. That doesn't always happen, but it's going to happen come the first ball game. That stadium's going to be ready.
In that vein, I know Jade Steffen, Heather would want to recognize him. He's the project coordinator, I think, there at Snyder and Hagerman Construction, and the group that built it. I think there were at least more than one student athlete that worked within the construction trades there. And I know the designer was Barton Co. Villama, and their founding son, Villama's founding son was another Snyder grad that played in the 90s, who I met recently. So, as Steve said, and as Coach would acknowledge, I'm sure, it takes a village, and it took a village, and quite frankly, we have to thank the taxpayers, right? I got a letter about that tonight. So it takes a village, and coaches all along have taught us that at Snyder High School, and Willie and I were very fortunate, as were others, that there was a great village at Snyder, including for young men like Willie and I, and the others mentioned in red here. We had Coach Holly's Isaacs Fast, was a close friend and family friend of mine who chewed me out a lot, but pushed me and made me better. And then Coach Arnold. So thank you all. And with that, the coaches and families, if you'd like to go. Oh, by the way, the spouses too, Mrs. Arnold, Anita, Mrs. Holly, Janet, I know Mary Fast, Coach Isaac's wife, thank you, Carol. It's not, and I know Martina Tippman, a friend and classmate of Jennifer and I's, that's a thankless job, coach's wife. But I know there's a lot of cold nights and hot evenings waiting and wondering stuff. And so I'm sure it's different when it's a win than it is a loss. So thank you to the coaches' wives too while you're here. But thank you all for coming and honoring Coach Isaacs. With that, we'll move forward with our business, and I'll entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you, Tony. Dr. Dale, anything from the consent agenda you want to discuss?
As soon as you're approved.
Okay, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
All those in favor of approving consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those same sign, against? Thank you, it's approved.
Now, so we have a new principal at Whitney Young STEAM Early Childhood. So Carrie Wardinger, would you please rise? Thank you. You bring more than 20 years of experience in education to FWCS. Strong background in elementary education, early learning, and school leadership. Since 2020, you've served as principal of Westview Elementary School at Mississinawa Community Schools. Previously, you served as preschool director and district administrator for Marion Community Schools, where you led the growth of the district's preschool program and expanded opportunities for young learners. So throughout your career, you've focused on student achievement, early literacy, and creating supportive environments where students and staff can succeed. At Whitney Young, you'll be replacing Melissa Plum, who is now elementary director. And we've just had a phone conversation or a Zoom meeting this morning in regards to IU Foundation and some of the work we're trying to do with that foundation, and have granted us some dollars specifically for early learning. So we welcome your input and also want to welcome you to Fort Wayne Community Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, welcome. Anything else, Dr. Dan?
That's it.
Thank you. Steve, would you take on the next recommendation, the Perkins 5 basic grant?
Yes, sir. It is recommended the board approve the acceptance of the Perkins 5 basic grant for the 26-27 school year in the amount of $1,210,795. The grant is a non-competitive grant operating on a 2-year schedule based upon the successful completion of the comprehensive local needs assessment process. As LEA, Fort Wayne Community Schools is awarded the amount as stated, $1,210,795 for the forthcoming school year. This same amount will be funded again for the 27-28 school year. Perkins 5 funding will be utilized to support career and technical teachers for the Career Academy, AMP Lab, our high schools, and the other 3 schools within Allen County. And Dr. Sandra Adams The principal at the Career Academy is here if we have any questions for her about this grant.
Thank you, Steve. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Julie. Questions for Dr. Adams?
I have a question. So in this text, it says the same amount will be funded again for 27-28. So it's 1.2 million this coming year and the following year. So it's each year.
Every 2 years, the state reevaluates the formula, and so this is the year that we wrote this, that we did the CLNA and wrote the grant, and so the state then gave us the amount of $1,210,000, which was about $50,000 more than the previous 2 years, and we are the lucky ones because most school districts saw a decrease.
So is this a federal or state program, Perkins 5?
Perkins is federal, and then it goes to the states, and the states determine how their money is allocated out.
And as the LEA, about how much do we retain and how much do we kick out to the other districts?
The spirit of the Perkins is that the funded Perkins means that you have shared students. And so the spirit of Perkins is to really put most of that money in the shared environment. So the Career Academy, AMP Lab, East Allen Career Center are the 3 largest shared facilities for the county. So that's where the bulk of the money goes. The bulk of the money definitely is the Career Academy because of the expense of our labs. But it's, I would say, 30% shared out.
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Adams? Thank you, Sandra. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Maria, can you read student basic accident insurance, please?
Yes. It is recommended that the board approve a 2-year agreement for student accident insurance with KidGuard at the cost of $164,640 for the 26-27 and 27-28 school years. FWCS received proposals from 4 agents specializing in student insurance. USI Insurance Group Incorporated offered the lowest premium for the requested coverage. The premium for basic sport and accident insurance will be $164,640 for a 2-year period, which is $38,540 less than the previous contract. This coverage provides each student a $25,000 maximum medical benefit with a $0 deductible. Middle school catastrophe coverage will cost $4,595 for the same period, a reduction of $182. This policy provides a $5 million maximum benefit and applies to middle school athletes only, as the IHSAA supplies catastrophic coverage for high school athletes. Parents may also purchase optional supplementary policies offering 24-hour coverage and/or extended dental benefits to help cover injuries that occur outside school hours or events. As an addendum, there is a catastrophic coverage for elementary flag and tackle football, which has a base premium of $4,439 and a catastrophic premium of $1,459. This coverage is new this year and provides a $5 million maximum benefit for elementary students in the football pipeline. And Michelle Kamek, Director of Financial Affairs, and CJ Mills from USI Insurance are here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Maria. I'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. Questions for Michelle or CJ? They're anxiously sitting against the wall, ready to spring to the mic if needed. So, Michelle, I will ask one. The overall coverage or the overall cost is less than prior years, but then includes the new elementary level coverage as well?
No, actually, that reduction is just related to the same type of coverage that paralleled what we had last year. And so that $38,000 roughly reduction is $19,000 or so per year based on our coverage last year. The coverage for the new coverage that we're getting because of the football pipeline is not included in those numbers.
Okay. But a $19,000 reduction would more than offset a $4,400 increase. Looks like.
Yeah.
Any questions for Michelle or CJ? Thank you, Michelle. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Julie, can you read the next one?
This is architect, engineer, and construction manager for the South Wayne Education Service Center. It's recommended that the board approve the following contracts for architectural and engineering and construction manager as constructor services for the South Wayne Education Service Center. So there's two companies, Design Collaborative, and their fee is $546,000. And Michael Kinder and Sons is the construction manager as constructor, and their fee is $25,000. And that's on an estimated construction budget of $9 million. Indiana law requires that projects over $100,000 make use of a registered architect or a professional engineer for developing plans and specifications. The construction manager as constructor, as permitted under Indiana Code for publicly funded projects, will be utilized for the South Wayne Education Service Center. The project will be funded through the 2026 Furniture and Facilities Improvement Bond. This recommendation includes approval of design services contract based on a percentage of the construction value and allowable reimbursable expenses, as well as a CMC fixed fee for pre-construction services. A subsequent recommendation will be presented for board consideration upon establishment of the final guaranteed maximum price. And Heather Krebs, Facilities Director, is available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Julie. Entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Tony. Questions for Heather? Can you talk about the process a little bit for us, Heather? I mean, looking at the two overall things, you know, we've done this before, but I guess this one kind of sticks out with early design pre-construction fee, quite a bit higher number for Design Collaborative versus Kinder and Sons, who I imagine will be doing most of the physical heavy lifting once that's up and going. But you talk a little bit about the process and the two different numbers.
Sure. So the process is we issue requests for proposals for both types of services, the design services as well as the construction manager services. They are structured differently according to the portions of the state law that governs each of those types of contract. We actually received, I want to say, 6 or 7 design proposals and maybe 7 or 8 construction manager proposals. Once we receive those, we have a committee that reviews those that includes both facilities personnel, as well as in this case, we included our special education director, Jen Burning, since her team will be utilizing this facility. We score those proposals based on a matrix, figure out who the highest scoring teams are, and then typically interview the top 2 or 3 out of each. And then out of those interviews, we finalize on a team for recommendation. The fee differential is for the design team. This is their entire fee for design. It is based on the estimated construction value, and then once we have that final guaranteed maximum price, we'll make whatever that small adjustment is to right-size that to what the final scope is. But that is their fee for the entire design process, as well as their construction admin services during the construction of the building. The CMC fee is only their efforts during the initial design phase, and then the bulk of their fee structure actually comes into play as we set the guaranteed maximum price based on once we receive subcontractor bids and they finalize their package.
Great, thank you. That was a good, helpful explanation.
So we'll be seeing another
You will.
something additional too.
Yes.
I have that question too, because I thought that the 20, based on the numbers, that was quite low, so that's just for the initial.
That is correct.
Thank you.
And so 546 represents roughly most of their work, and then 25 is just the beginning
Correct.
work for Kinder and Smiths. Okay. Here we are, you're teaching us something new every day. It's a good educational facility. Any other questions for Heather? Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
When do you think the project will start and begin and end at this point?
We anticipate bidding late this year, so December, maybe into January. My hope would be to bring a recommendation to you for a guaranteed maximum price probably in February. And then we would begin construction this spring. We may bring an early package for demolition of the portion of the building that we're wishing to tear down. And that could come before the end of the year.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Tony, can you do the bus purchase and transportation, or the bus purchase and recommendation, and then we'll hear the bus department presentation.
It is recommended that the board approve the purchase of 6 84-passenger buses and 3 36-passenger buses, plus 4 wheelchair lift buses from Bluebird of Indianapolis, Indiana for $1,839,267. This is an amendment to the original bus replacement plan adopted on October 27, 2025. Indiana purchasing laws allows for purchase made through competitive bid contracts from approved cooperative purchasing entities. This pricing is based on the Central Indiana Education Services Center's cooperative bid from the spring of 2026. Funding will come from the Operations Fund, and Rashonda Armstrong, Director of Transportation, will be available to answer any questions.
Along with Rashonda is Darren Hess, Executive Director of Operations. And should we go ahead and take the vote or do the presentation first?
Presentation.
Okay. Darren, take it away.
Good evening, President Smith, members of the board, Dr. Daniel. Tonight we'd like to give you an update on transportation and our operations looking towards a couple weeks, 2026-27 school year. First, before that, I'd like to recognize a couple of members of my team in the audience. Rashonda Armstrong, who's our director. We have David Henry, who is our manager of hiring and recruitment. We have our manager of routing and dispatch is out ill tonight, otherwise he would be with us, Brian Moriarty. And then hopefully within 2 weeks we have our new operations manager joining us from outside the district to bring in his expertise to help us out. So with that in mind, we have our agenda tonight. We have a bus driver update, our CDL coverage outlook, office realignment, what's new in 2026 and 27, just a little bit about some continuous improvement that we have started and continue on, and then opportunity for questions. But if you have any questions as I'm going through the slides, go ahead and interrupt and I'll try to address those. So the first one, I'm sure everyone's been wanting to know, are we going to be ready in 2 weeks? As you know, last spring we did not end the year very well. We had service interruptions for the past, in the last 2 weeks or so. Had combinations of e-learning and combinations of 2-hour release and 2-hour delay schedules for our secondary school. But the reason we did that, we had those 15 open CDL routes. It was just too much to overcome with our subs and with our office staff. So what did we do over the last few months to try to address that? David and his team, we held 2 test drive a bus events. This is something the state allows to allow those who may be interested in driving a bus to actually get behind the wheel of a bus in a secured environment before putting in an application, going for the DOT drug test and DOT physical, putting in their background check. Hey, is this a right fit? Take some of the apprehensions away. Unfortunately, the Northrop event was a very cold day, so we didn't garner a lot of interest. But the Anthus Day, we did. And that May 16th was after we had service interruption. So Dr. Daniel on TV after our board meeting, talking about all the good things that we do for our bus drivers and training them and signing bonuses. Being on the news, we were on the national news. We actually had people from Toledo, Texas applying. So that helped us. Bad things sometimes have good things out of it. But out of that Anthus event, we had several dozen individuals come out. We had 3 different buses. We had a large 84 passenger, a 48 or 24 passenger special ed lift route bus, and then also a SPB bus, which is the little yellow buses that do not require CDL. We actually halfway through the event had to go back and pick up another bus because we had people standing in line because some of them wanted to drive all 3 buses. So it was very encouraging. Out of those 2 events and just the interest we had this last couple of months, we've had 50 applicants. These are, numbers are changing every day. Of those, we had 7 unicorns, we like to call them. They came to us fully endorsed with all the school bus endorsements and ready to go. So that was very encouraging. And then 7 CDLs, where we just had to give them the A and B endorsements and teach them how to drive with the 84 kids on the bus. But you see that last number, no experience, 36. It's quite a daunting task. My team over at Transportation, they've done an excellent job. We've created Bus Driver University, Transportation University. We have a set curriculum. Every day we have in-person classes. We have driving classes. If you go over at Northrop, we have a test site over there. If they feel comfortable there, then we go on to Ludwig Road. And then we go from there to the next. And so it's been a very busy place this summer. So with all that in mind, obviously it takes a lot to get everyone to a CDL. So on the first day of school.
Hey, Darren?
Yeah.
You kind of answered it, but what's the A and B endorsement? So it has to do with having
Air
students
brakes,
on.
yeah, the air brakes, that's specific for school buses. Yeah.
Okay.
And David, you want to expand on that at all?
Well, you have to have a passenger and an air brake and a total of 4 endorsements.
Go to the mic.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks, David.
There are 4 endorsements involved in getting a CDL permit so that we can train you and put you behind the wheel and work with you. General knowledge, air brake, and then passenger and school bus. And of course, the people with CDLs come to us. They do have the experience of working with the large semis and other things, but then we add the passenger and school bus onto that and then get them onto the streets and work with them after they pass the CDL test. So.
Thanks.
Real quick before you leave the mic, Dave, you talked to the new hirees, the 36 no experience folks.
Yes.
What are the biggest reservations or hesitations do you hear, A, and then B, what is the biggest misconceptions that people have about driving a school bus?
Well, I think in general, people get nervous with the idea of having so many kids behind them and trying to control the students as well as going forward on the streets, and they feel the pressure of such a responsibility. And our job is to make sure that they understand that it can be done. It can be done. You can train them to drive a bus, and then we can work with you to manage the students. And what the test drive a bus did for us was to relieve some of the pressure before we actually got them hired, because they touched the wheel and they were in the bus driving it just in a very minimal way, but yet they got off the bus and were ready to try another one. So it actually relieved a lot of that stress. And so it was essential.
Thank you. All right, so we're looking at the first day of school, looking at just our CDL coverage right now. So there's a line there across, it's very light and blue. That is the number of CDL drivers we really need to run our routes on a daily basis without service interruptions. If you look at that first column, the left, that is how we ended the year last year. So you can see those 15 drivers, those routes we just simply didn't have. We tried to cover as best we could with office and with subs, but that's when we saw the service interruptions. So the next column is the blue is the existing drivers, so you can see natural attrition, retirement. We did lose drivers over the summer in addition to what we ended with at the end. So we had a double whammy that we had to hire for. You see 15 CDLs. Those are those unicorns that came to us and the CDLs, so we got them trained up real quick. David's had a couple of trainees in that 36 that have crushed it, and they've got their CDL before we anticipated it. But on that first day of school, you still see there's about 7 routes there. These are today's numbers that we still have to figure out how to cover for the first about 2 weeks with our office staff and with our subs. So I will be completely, brutally honest with you. The first couple of weeks is going to be touch and go. But we have people lined up to get their CDL here soon. We're kind of at the mercy of the CDL testing centers. The state only holds, typically 1 a month ELDT training. We have to get them in for our CDL. There's physical, their drug tests. So there's a lot of check boxes that we have to check before we actually get them on. And we don't want to put them on a bus when they haven't seen a student yet either. So we'll be very cautious those first 2 weeks. But then when you look at the first week of September there, that third bar, we're already have enough drivers to hit our minimum. And then as we look out to October and November, that blue or the green line at the top of 192 drivers, that signifies the number of CDL routes that we have, plus the 9% absentee rate that we typically see in the industry. So that gives us our max drivers that we would like to have optimally. Knowing that if we end up having a couple drivers quit or leave us, it could take 60, 90 days to replace them. So we want to make sure we overshoot, knowing that there's going to be times where we're going to have to cover them for many days. David and our trainer like to talk about 60 days to CDL, so we're trying to put them on a very rigid training schedule, knowing that some people may need 75 days. We obviously don't want to put them behind a bus if they're not quite ready, but we're really pushing that 60 to 90 days, having them in a route. So we talked about those first 2 weeks. What is our plan for an outage in case we have something tear through our district illness-wise? We heard loud and clear last year that the e-learning days wasn't the preferred choice. We want to have kids in school, in person, as the best mode for education. So we've been working with our secondary OSLs to come up with a combination of secondary route coverage. Again, like we ended last year with a 2-hour delay, a couple schools, and a 2-hour release. That gives us enough routes to finish the rest of us. That schedule isn't released yet. We're still getting through that, making sure which schools we want to hit first, but that will be published before the first day of school.
Talk about the 2-hour early release. I think everybody understands a 2-hour delay. How do you envision the 2-hour release working?
So in combination, I'm just going to say 2 middle schools, and for a 2-hour delay, we can use those bus drivers for those 2 schools to help out with that morning rush. But then in the afternoon rush, we have the same kids we got to take home, so we have to have 2-hour release. We can't try to show up and take more kids home with the same number of drivers. So we have to have a correct number in the morning, correct number at night. So we have to have 2 schools to equal 1 route, if that makes sense.
But it won't be the same school getting a delay and a release?
Correct. It'll be 2 different schools in the morning, 2 different schools in the afternoon.
Are we only talking secondary schools?
Yes. Secondary is our, being a 2-tier, secondary has the highest number of children we need to get to school. They have, it's escaping me, I think it's like 8 less elementary routes. Yes. Runs, I mean, 8 less elementary runs on the back side. So the elementary students, we can get them to school. It's those secondary, that first tier that we struggle with.
Darren, I've been reading about a school district near Lafayette that went to 4-day work week, and everybody seemed pretty pleased about it. And until you began talking about creative ways to cover the shortage, might that be of help for us? Have you looked at or considered, those longer school days for those schools on a 4-day week schedule?
We have started looking at it. There's advantages in operations, of course, but then there's obviously disadvantages sometimes in who's watching the kids during the day on that 5th day if you don't have someone at home. So there's a lot of things that go into that, community-wise. Operations-wise, it's the best thing, yes, absolutely. But we have to consider all. But we have looked at it, yes.
I will mention that the state has enacted a new rule for how a school qualifies for 4-day, which you're aware of.
Yeah, which kind of kills the operational side.
It's a pretty high bar.
What do you envision the operational benefits being in a 4-day? I mean, to me, the routes, you still have the same number of routes, but just one less day, right? I mean, adjusting the
yeah, we could shift individuals on when they work, because it doesn't take any longer to get them to school. So we could have, someone working, you don't work this Tuesday, next week you don't work Wednesday, so we'd be able to have the same number of hours, just more people. So one of the things that we looked at, it's kind of self-inflicted. We have bus drivers that are not staying. So we looked internally and tried to figure out how can we support our drivers a little better. We've said this many times that if we can try to keep them past year 2, they stay with us. It's that beginning to year 2 that we struggle. So we have an office realignment. I won't go through each individual organizational bubble there, but on the left-hand side, that is more considered our support team. So that's David's team with hiring. We changed one of our supervisors of the drivers to a 52-week. So during the summer, they're heavily involved training. And then their drivers that they supervise are actually day 1 to end of year 1, end of year 2. So they see that same consistency, same support system with those drivers, that they're all part of a team, smaller groups. And then the other supervisors are taking more of our seasoned drivers. And then under also David is our support team for our safety and student management. So they're going to be working heavily with those drivers with behaviorals on the bus, how to manage students, talking about seating charts, bringing in Dr. Griffin's team on a lot more PLs. So that team, when we get to that, that green bar of 192 drivers, hopefully we can pull a few people off of routes and get them in professional learning to support them. And that's where we have not been able to do in these last couple of years because we've been so short-handed. We haven't given that continual support. So that's going to be a theme that we have throughout our office, throughout everything we do is very intentional on driver retention and consistency because we have to support the drivers. It's very obvious that if they're leaving within 2 years, we're not supporting them properly.
With that being said, do you do an exit survey for those who leave us and kind of pinpoint if it is a support or if it's student management? I mean, what are the reasons people are leaving us?
We do try to do the exit interviews as much as we can. Obviously, it's up to them when they're voluntarily leaving sometimes. We hear from everything. During the summer, there's not a job. So they find a job during the summer, they don't come back in the fall because now they're driving a dump truck. So we're looking at options of year-round pay, how to retain them. Dave does an awesome job with a job fair at the end of the year, try to place them into part-time jobs that knowing in fall they'll come back to us. We have a lot of people, they do say that I didn't feel comfortable. I felt comfortable, you guys train us very well to drive a bus, but to drive a bus full of kids, the supports weren't there. So we're looking inside. We're taking all the surveys. We're looking at the information. I rode a lot of buses. I talked to a lot of drivers, and over again, I did hear that is that you're training us very well to drive this big bus, but not necessarily with kids on it. So this is our attempt to try to focus our goals towards retention.
Can a student's behavior or misbehavior be the cause for them losing their ability to ride a bus? Can you identify a student, just said, look, you've been disrupting this bus 3 of the 4 days of this week, and if you do it again, you're not going to be able to jump on this bus anymore?
Yeah, members of our safety team, members of our driver supervisors, they work with the bus drivers to write referrals, but then also connect with our building administrators. So the building administrators handle the discipline.
Okay.
We have a say in it, but we don't discipline ourselves, but we work with the schools. And then with that, we bring in Dr. Griffin's team too, I mean, it's an extension of the classroom. We should be using the same theory, the same ideas that we're using with our classroom teachers.
I would assume that you want to fill every seat on every bus. And I guess with respect to scheduling, how cooperative are parents in indicating my child will or will not be riding with you this year? Is there a deadline for them to make a decision?
August 3rd is our end of year for routing students, but we always get them in. We pull up and there's a kid on the street, we're picking them up. All the bus drivers know they're picking them up in the morning. Elementary is pretty stable. Secondary, it ebbs and flows through the year. You have a kid get a after-school job, they're volunteering, they're playing football, basketball, track. So I would like to say I'd like to fill every bus, but during football season I have more capacity than I do during basketball season. So secondary is harder to pinpoint.
Because of those legitimate variations in a student's day.
Correct.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and many of them will ride in the morning but not ride in the afternoon, or vice versa too, depending on their situation.
Okay.
We talked about, or we've mentioned before about the full year pay. I've seen the advertisement for sign-on bonuses in the past. Have we ever done stay with us till the end of the school year till you get your sign-on bonus? I mean, finish up the school year and then get, not maybe all of it, but some of it, because it seems to me May comes around, Amazon comes knocking, the dump truck driver comes knocking and outruns all of our bus drivers. And I mean, is there a way that we can look at the end? Sign-on bonuses are great, but you got to stay with us until we finish the school year to help our students. So I don't know if there's multiple things that you've been looking at in contracts that could help us.
There are, obviously, they're Teamsters, so they have to be negotiated because it has to do with wages.
Right.
But we have our reopener, hopefully within the month, we're trying to get that scheduled. But yeah, we have ideas.
Great.
Yes, absolutely.
Great.
So new for 26-27, our schools will be able to have a bus arrival board for their individual buses, their individual schools, that will show each of their buses when they're going to arrive. Two different ways, top right there, and a dashboard similar to an airport display of your bus is on time or your bus is late. Or they can even see them on a map view in different colors. But this will help them when they get calls from their staff, is the bus here yet, or schools, the parents come in without having to call transportation. It takes one layer out. They'll have this information at their fingertips. The other thing, this is on all built routes, so it's the morning and afternoon route, but think of like Holland and Blackhawk that has a lot of special ed, modified schedules. They can see when their bus is coming around the corner, so they can call down to the classroom. The teachers can start bringing the kids out without having to call our dispatch to find out how far are you out. And then I really like the idea of activity buses at the end of the day. So secondary, we're taking our secondary kids home, going back, getting their elementary kids, and then we may be getting to Memorial Park a little late. They have access to see when we're getting there, because those are the ones that if we are going to run really late, it's going to be those activity buses because we ran into issues. But this will just be available for schools, not for parents. So for parents, it's not going to be this fall. We're going to start piloting it, but hopefully second semester we go live with it. Tyler Technologies, who does our routing software, they have a MyRide K-12 parent app that they can download for their student. It gives them assigned stop locations, their times. If there's any variations in that times, they get push notifications out ASAP versus us using Parent Square. I've been in dispatch before when we've got really slick day out and all of a sudden we've got 5 bus drivers all calling in for a code 15, meaning you're 15 minutes late. So then we've got people scrambling to get on the computer, typing in code 15 into Parent Squares to send them out. So they will get instant notifications. We'll be working with our media team to make sure how that works with Parent Square. The other thing is they will actually be able to see a portion of the bus route that's near their stop, so they can see when the bus is 2 or 3 stops away, especially on those really cold days to send kids out knowing that's going to be late without getting a 15-minute late notice.
Are you seeking volunteers to pilot this, or how are you going to pilot this?
I offered it at leadership. I haven't got a single volunteer, so we may be selecting volunteers.
Voluntold.
But we'll definitely want to have a school that has a lot of ridership, so, Northrop or, not Blackhawk, but Shawnee, for example.
What would be the pushback? Why isn't just one extra thing to do, or?
For the schools to pilot, I think, just after leadership, there was a fountain, the faucet was just on, so they got a lot of information that day. We'll have some, when we piloted the dashboard for the schools, we had 3 schools work with us on that, so they'll come through. Although not new for this year, the student IDs, we now have readers on every single bus. So we included our white SPB buses, so your activity buses at the end of the day for all the schools, they now have readers. We included student IDs now for our Career Academy non-FWCS students. So kids going to Carroll, we piloted last year, like construction trades, for example, and it doesn't do a lot of good when you're coding on or scanning on 6 kids, but not 3. They're still our kids. While they're under our care, they're still our kids. So we're no excuse now for the schools or students not to have an ID. Every single student has an ID. Every single bus has a reader. This will help us in the emergencies, knowing that's the first thing we ask. Where do they drop off at? When do they drop off at? If we don't have the information, we're already a step behind. So we're really encouraging everyone in our schools to really stay on top of this. But we can use it for all trips. Have to use it for all trips. Our morning and afternoon runs, but also all those midday shuttles, AMP Lab, Anthus, because kids jump off buses and don't go on buses. And this gives us our best opportunity to capture those and the ridership. Activity buses at the end of the day. If they're scanning on and riding it and we've got a full activity bus, I'm going to continue to run that full activity bus. If I see I've got 3 or 4 kids riding it, then we have to look at it for operations and say, is this worth it? So it gives us a lot of data, not only for safety, but also for operations and being efficient.
So this is an on-off card?
Yes.
And it also shows them where they boarded and not deplaned, but deplaned off the bus.
And also includes the time of day when they did it.
Wow.
So we can pinpoint it, bring in our cameras, verify that's the student, and then work with Fort Wayne Police Department or whoever if we're trying to find a missing
Every
student.
once in a while, we see these stories on television of a student who slept on a bus and was still there or something, and this should mitigate that.
It should, yes. Yeah. It should. Also new, we replaced all of our bus surveillance systems on all the buses. The schools should notice a lot of difference on how they utilize it. Their video recording requests and them remain unchanged. However, they're going to see improved resolution on the newer cameras. They're going to see expanded views and a little bit better angles. For our safety team, for our dispatch especially, we'll now have real-time viewing into the buses utilizing a cell service. Prior, we had Wi-Fi. We had to wait for the buses to come back to the yard, download everything on Wi-Fi, maybe have to go out and actually pull a videotape out of a recorder. So now this will have us on time. We can really support those drivers. Think of a driver that's having a medical event on the bus. They go back to that student. They can the dispatch can talk with 911, give that driver support as they're tending to that student. So very happy with this. We also expanded to all the white buses. So now ADs and coaches, if there's an incident on a bus, they can request video as well, where before we did not have them on the white SPBs.
Does the student have the discretion of getting off anywhere they want?
No. So that student ID actually has a built-in address with it too. So if they try to get off and scan, it actually beeps at them. And the bus driver knows.
Flashing light will start if they get off at the wrong corner?
It's a loud noise.
Really?
Yeah, it's a loud noise. So I mentioned this earlier with what we're trying to do with our culture and with our intentionality at transportation. Dr. Daniel mentioned in leadership, continuous continuity, being consistent. With 185 drivers, depending on the day, we'd have to be consistent of how we're addressing our students, how we're supporting our students. They're the first smile, hopefully, when they see us in the morning, and the last smile at the end of the day. We have to be consistent with our students, teachers at the school. So there's a lot of time built in with our plan to collaborate with Dr. Griffin's group, the principals, because the buses should be no different than a classroom. So we're trying to be very intentional with that, but at the same time, we're trying to be efficient. And one of the ways last year, we actually implemented 8 starting routes, and we housed 8 buses over at Catalpa Complex, which went very well. We're actually expanding it, so next week you'll start seeing some buses park in the parking lot of our old South Transportation Center. We are going to rent that for the next year, primarily because we started the construction project and we don't have room to put the buses, so we had to relocate them for a year. But thanks to Bart Bunn and his family, they have offered to let us lease that for a year. So you'll start seeing some buses over there again. But this really got us going and looking at how we can optimize different areas to stage buses within the city. I am very, very interested in staging about 15 to 20 buses out by Anthony Coliseum. We have such a high density ridership in that area. It doesn't make a lot of sense to drive all the way from Northrop out there. So any of those that we can investigate, we're doing so. To do that, we do need to have additional spare buses because you don't want to have 15 buses there without a spare in case one doesn't start. So it does give us some need for additional spares, but it's more efficient if we're cutting off 45 minutes to an hour of a bus driver 177 days of the year, and mileage and wear and tear on tires and engines. So you'll be looking, I'm pretty sure we're going to have something out southeast next year, or maybe even second semester. We looked at all of our stops. Over time with construction, we move a stop, we forget to put it back. We had a family. The family is no longer there anymore, but the stop is still there. So we looked at very intentional at our stops, consolidated them, got them back to where they should be, still within walking distance of a desire, getting them away from neighborhoods and into schools where they're lit better. We have better parking for the magnet schools, for example. Last year was tough with snow and ice. We had stops on like Bowser Street, for example, or buses going down Bowser. 4 days later, the city had not touched any of those roads. So we're taking those stops and moving them out to artillery roads, simple like Pontiac or Creighton. Still within the block, but not within the neighborhood where our buses have very hard transiting.
Have we released those change and stop information to our families?
We sent out a letter. Scott has it. We're going to time it here. We're also letting them know to keep checking Power School because their stops can change. Every year they can change by August 3rd. So by August 3rd, we'll have everybody routed and all those cemented. So yeah, we are putting that information out. It's on our call center, for example. If you call into transportation, if you're waiting in queue, it's telling you how to find out your stop information.
So that information, some information is out there already?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And utilizing that ridership, like I had mentioned, I would love to tell Dr. Daniel we can put more kids on some buses, but when I look at the route and it's got 80 kids routed for an 84 passenger bus, but if we look at data and we're consistently only having 60 riders, yeah, I can add to that bus. But the only way I can do that is look at through data. So that's why I need the school's help to make sure that if you're riding the bus, you're signing on and off every day. Lastly, I mentioned it, on-flow call center. That's our Let's Talk. We're the only ones in the district. We piloted it where we have prompts, but everything is recorded. All of our operators, Rashonda and I, we can jump in at any time and actually listen to how the customer service went. We can find out if we see any things that happen often where we can address it, like we said with our queue. If you're waiting in queue, we found out, 9 to 10 calls, people are asking, how do I know to look up my bus stop? Look on Power Square or Power School. Look before August 3rd. So we put it on the message before. So just trying to look at ways to get the information out front for the parents before they have to wait in line and let us answer. But everything is recorded, so we have a good background of each caller, their situation. So if someone has to pick it up later, they're not calling the person again and starting the whole situation over. It's a call center, so we've got those notes. Questions?
On the small white buses, is the intent to also have student athletic teams that go out and then come back on those? Are they scanning on and off of those as well?
Yes, they're scanning on. So we have them load their rosters. So when the SPB driver coach goes out and they punch in their route because of the roster, it brings up their kids.
Okay, awesome.
So how will you handle if the child is not on the bus on the way home? For example, a student goes to across town to play a game, the parent's there, and the parent wants to take them home. How does that going to work for the person who's on?
So
they're scanned on, they scanned off, they just won't scan back in?
So when they scan back in, the roster on the tablet will say you're missing these 3 kids. And the driver has to either manually punch them on or basically verify, yes, I know this kid's not here. So it does show up that you're missing 3 kids.
Okay, great.
Or this recommendation, what's something we can do as a board to help support attracting and retaining good quality bus drivers?
Just keeping up the good word that they're part of the team. Again, we're trying to create that culture that they're part of the classroom, an extension of the kids' lives. It's a calling, public service, that they're just not someone to take them from point A to point B, but they're there to be part of that student's life. So it's a profession. When we talk to our drivers, this is a profession. This isn't just a job, it's a profession.
Any comments or questions for Darren or Rashonda? Or David?
Okay, so the first couple of weeks that we're looking like we're slightly shy, how many, do we have enough office workers to cover those routes?
At this time, yes. And we have some subs. So we fully aware it's going to be tight. David's trying to get some others to CDL licensure a little quicker, but the reality is we are going to be covering some routes the first day, yes.
I want to follow up on the question Jennifer asked about this issue of 3 players deciding to ride home with their moms and dads. And I was in a meeting last week with the superintendent, and I can't remember what the topic was, but one of the things I walked away with is, are we too nice and accommodating for families and students? And in the end, what it does is it makes us not as responsive to really the overall needs of the district. And I'm just, and yet I know that, we want to offer students a learning experience, but does that happen to the detriment of our, whatever item we're talking about, whether it's starting school on time or people riding buses and not following through. And I guess I want to challenge everybody to think about, if we truly are a business, and we don't want to be cold-hearted, but are there situations where we just need to say, look, when you're late to school every day, this is what happens to the overall operations of our buildings. I don't have the answer, but I just think that we may be too nice at times. So I don't need to respond to that, but I guess want to challenge everybody in the district about thinking about that. Hey, look, we're bending over backwards, and it's hurting the overall operations of the school.
Well, to piggyback that, I guess, I spent last Friday, which I'll talk a little bit more with the Indiana School Board Association, the upcoming legislative year 2027. Of course, we're under the new scrutiny of A through F, or the renewed scrutiny of A through F, and therefore we are all being held accountable, and therefore our role is to hold people accountable. This is my personal belief on this topic. I don't know if the rest of the board shares with me, but I believe the ridership on the bus is a privilege and not a right. And I think if kids aren't behaving, then we need to support those bus drivers and those educators to get those kids in the right behavioral position to take advantage of getting driven to school by the taxpayers' dollars. Coach Isaacs, Coach Hawley, Coach Arnold, we honored earlier, were kind but firm, I think Willie would agree. And we were held accountable as athletes. And if we weren't, we got replaced. But we were told we had to do better. And I think as a district, we need to continue to do that in a caring manner. I think the rest of the board would agree with that. But we're held accountable. And to have the shortage we had last spring and the challenges that families faced and students faced, I did not want to see us start 2026, 2027 with that same method. And I appreciate Darren and Rashawn and David and the team there at Transportation. This is not an easy lift. This is not an easy task that you are being challenged with, but you have taken it on. And I believe you're doing the best of your abilities. And therefore, from my seat and my perspective, we'll do the best of our abilities to support you guys. Because this is an important piece, and we're not the only district facing this challenge. This is a system-wide challenge. And Jennifer's brought ideas of legislation to the forefront that we're going to continue to kind of pound the table on to try and make it easier for people to become credentialed and certified bus drivers versus drivers of large big rig trucks, which are seemingly two different things, right? But seemingly have the same qualifications. So I'll leave it at that. Anybody else?
Is it too late to hold another drive a bus day?
Hopefully Dave can do it, I don't know. No, we love the event. We definitely plan on doing another one. We don't have one currently planned. But as we see those numbers starting to dwindle, we know we've got to stay ahead of it. We can't wait.
So even if it's not an event, is it something that potentially every so many months we have, hey, come out and drive a bus and see whether you want to be a bus driver? I mean, not a full-blown event, but hey, Willie wants to be a bus driver. Maybe you got to try to ride that bus, drive it first. Would you be able to accommodate that? I mean,
There's certain rules that we have to have the parking lot completely blocked off, police there, everything. David we got him a tent last year. He's very happy with his tent. He goes to every job fair ever. He'll be at Northside tomorrow, at the job fair. We'll be here this Saturday at the block party. We'll be here on Calhoun at the Calhoun Street, the 13th or whatever it is. So every opportunity Dave sees, he tries to get a seat at the table and bring his pretty tent. That's good.
The test drive a bus event is what makes it so incremental to us is that it happens and it builds the opportunity to train during the summer. And so because we're training in mass, larger groups, we don't have to worry about student ridership. We don't have to worry about the other pressures going on. And so having a larger group in the summer is very important. Right now we are working with 24 in class. And we can cover such a large gamut of subjects and go just area by area, danger zones, intersections, student management, you name it, it's covered, mirrors. And so during the summer is the perfect time to do that. Of course, during the year, we can have the events, but building up a large class, it takes a very long time to work that through the pipeline. But we take them as they come in, and that is the other thing, we take them as they come. They might have no experience, or they might have a CDL with everything, and they've worked it in the school district. We still have to work them through the process of onboarding onto Fort Wayne Community Schools and doing things like we do.
Right. Is there an opportunity for a ride-along potentially if someone's interested? I know it's not the mass numbers that you would want at one class or time, but as we kick off the school year, and we'll pick on Willie since Jennifer already did, he knows his friend Noah who's driving a bus, hey Noah, can I ride the bus with you, see what it's like? Maybe I want to be a bus driver.
Yeah, we can do bus driver for a day, ride along.
All right.
There you go.
I'm not sure they shook their heads just like that.
I was waiting to see what he said.
As Noah mentioned, I have had some thoughts on change of legislation a little bit. And I mean, as I drove around, I drove all over Indiana this summer, and everywhere I went, from Mississinawa down past Indianapolis, all I saw were large buses out front with huge signs that says we need drivers. Every school district. So I personally have taken it on to do a little research and work with one of our legislators on potentially looking at changing legislation to bus driver CDLs, and there's a lot of obstacles, but I will need some direction and help from your department to move something a little bit further and get to the next step. So, you know, please know that we're looking out for you and trying for you. We do a lot of other different governance, but we're always trying to see what we can do while we have a table at the seat at that table in somebody's ear. So,
are you suggesting that CDL requirement is too high of a bar?
If Rashawn or hey, one of you guys are professionals, talk a little bit about the differences, if you don't mind.
Yes.
You're suggesting that it's too high of a bar?
I have heard from countless bus drivers over the past years that the CDL, there's a lot to know about a CDL that pertains to an 18-wheeler that doesn't pertain to a school bus. Now, there's a lot to know that cross, but that's what I've heard.
I see someone jumping out of their seat to respond.
So today, Dave had a new group that came in last week, 2 weeks ago, but we had to send them to the state class. And so last week was really their first week. And so we sent them down to their permit. And so I went over to talk to them just to see, you know, as I knew, like, it was 6 of them went to go take their permit down to the license bureau today. So I wanted to see how they do, you know, because the test is very, very rigorous. It is. And so most of them said, well, I would have did good until they start asking me the questions about truck driving. So when we're teaching them about what school bus, but according to the state and the federal test is basically based off if you're driving an 18 rig.
Yeah.
18 wheel rig, and it's just not like that. What we have to do for a school bus is not what they do for a truck, and they hold us to that level as if we're driving a semi versus a school bus. Mm-hmm. Although the credentials, we don't have to have nothing but a B with air brakes and passenger endorsement and student to drive a school bus, but they still hold us as if we're driving a semi-truck. So
and is that true for every state in this country?
That's because it's federal. It's federally regulated. Yeah,
that's federal.
So, and since they brought in the clearinghouse, now I can move, and they did that because of the truckers, because a trucker could go and have an accident and hurt someone in Indiana, then they can move to Kentucky and get a whole new job and not have to report their incident in Indiana. Yeah. Well, now with the federal government regulating it the way they are, you can go, I can take my license now and go to Kentucky. I don't have to retest. I just have to do whatever the state requires me to do, but now they track it, the federal government track it. And so that's what makes a difference. So they still hold us to that level as well. So you're correct.
And that's what I've heard. And so that's where I've been going to with this. Now there's lots of hurdles and obstacles, but that would sure serve a national shortage problem of bus drivers, or at least be a step in the right direction, I should say, is if they're...
And also, we're trying in this region, part of Region 3, is hopefully the state will allow us to be able to bring a test site here. This area, we don't have a test site. We have to go to a contract test site, which holds us up. But if we can bring a test site, and I sit with a partner, I got with Southwest, Northwest is our president, Natalie, and so we can find a location that have a large enough area. It have to be fenced. It got some criteria, but we can test their drivers. They can test our drivers, and so on, and then we can move through the rings a little bit quicker. Because right now they just upped the fee from $100 per test to $150. So that's another thing. We're bringing in new people. You know, they're looking for employment, but now they have to pay a $150 fee, and if you don't pass, then guess what? You go back, you have to pay another $150 fee. So trying to work with that, so we try to make sure when our drivers go, we don't send them unless we know they're at the level that they need to be to pass.
But the other thing I foresee that would really help us on that is if you only received a bus driver CDL, and Amazon comes knocking, or the trucking company comes knocking, and you don't have that full CD, which is where I think we might see some problems too. So, but if we don't have that, they can't go.
Yeah,
And
and
so-
with Amazon, our problem is if we ever get to that where we can be able to provide pay across the board, we wouldn't have to worry about Amazon. Amazon did not compare to FWCS. When Dave sells this job, he sells it as a career, and he goes head on that. Where can you go to get perf? You can't get perf from Amazon. You can't get these great benefits that the district offer us. It is so much that a bus driver get just as being a bus driver. And I mean, I'm talking for the basic driver who only want to work their 6 hours and go home. You're still getting benefits. You're still paying to getting perf. You're getting a lot of benefits with that. And if you got kids that are covered, they go to the wellness center. So we have pushed that. That's how he sells it now. Not just, you know what I'm saying, this is an ordinary job, oh well, but it's more to as a career, as a family. And so it's a lot of perks that we offer that, and along with it, when you was talking about the bonus, well, we do break the bonus up 4 times through the year for 2 years. So they do have to stay with us long enough to get that. And we have added the exit interview because we want to know. We want to know when we turn in these resignations, we don't want downtown to be like, well, why are they leaving? No, we need to let them know this is what's going on. And we also come back, how can we support you? We just lost one in Holland, but how can we support you? But then hearing things like Croninger principal run up to us and say, hey, I got my CDL, I come from Southwest, I drove a bus. She's fully credentialed. She's like, hey, if you ever get short from Croninger, count me in because I can drive a bus. And just seeing that type of things was, you know, that's amazing to hear a principal run up and let us know that. So it's a lot of creative ways that we can be able to assist families that want to work. Absolutely.
Did I hear you mention if we went to the 26 pay period, that would take Amazon out of the ring as competitors in your mind and stuff like that?
Oh, definitely.
That's a contractual thing that we
Yeah.
need to work on.
But that contractual things, discussions coming up soon?
Yes, September.
Well, thank you, both of you, and David, for being out there and promoting us like you do in those benefits. I really appreciate that, and I hope that those who are listening are wanting to sign up to be a bus driver.
Any other questions for any of the team on the presentation first? Any other questions for Darren or Shawna for the recommendation of the purchase of, as a reminder, 6 84 passenger bus, 3 36 passenger bus, and 4 wheelchair lift buses from Bluebird? Any questions on that?
Nope.
Thank you, Darren, Rashawn, and David, for your time, efforts, and energy. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Jennifer, can you read the next custodial service agreement?
It is recommended that the board approve an amendment to the custodial service agreement with Sodexo Services of Indiana Limited Partnership. Terms of the original agreement allow for price adjustments for renewal years to compensate for inflation. This amendment reflects an agreed-upon ECI increase. This one-year amendment amount, effective July 19th, 2026, is $14,315,360.28. And Darren is here, our Executive Director of Operations is here to answer our questions.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Steve. Do we have questions for Darren regarding the Sodexo renewal? Hearing no questions, all those in favor? No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Our principals are satisfied with the service?
It's been a great year. It's been very quiet. Ryan, our new GM, he's been out there. Lance is out there. So far, everything's been great.
Good news. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Willie, can you read the plan for 2027? You do not have to read all those dates.
Right. It is recommended that the board approve the schedule for 2027 board meetings. Meetings are Mondays evenings at 6 p.m. in the boardroom at the Growl Administrative Building, 1200 South Clinton Street. Below are some dates considered for the second and fourth Mondays of each month, except for May, July, and December.
Thank you, Willie.
You're welcome.
Do we need to approve this, or is this, okay. Entertain a motion to approve.
Move for approval?
Second.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Julie. Comments? I will make a comment as we switch gears, and our next school board meeting, August 10th, as a reminder, we'll be out at Snyder High School. I'd like to see how this goes, but I, for one, am interested in maybe doing a road show once in a while. much to maybe Andy's chagrin, once in a while, subject to.
At 7:30.
Yeah, this August 10th will be at 7:30. I'm not saying, but over the next 2027, depending on the will of the rest of the board, I think it'd be fun to go out and see some of our schools in person and celebrate them and also hold a meeting there, so. Dates look solid, locations to be determined, but mostly here. Any comments or questions otherwise on this topic? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Steve, board member comments.
Enjoyed the conversations this evening and the opportunity to recognize Russ for his long service to the district.
No comment.
Thank you. Julie?
Congratulations to Northside High School for celebrating 100 years. I couldn't make it, but looked at some of the pictures, heard some comments from friends, and looks like a pretty cool event.
It was pretty cool.
Refresh my memory. Where does Southside?
Southside's older.
Okay, Southside
So
is
they're
old.
about 104 years now.
Okay.
The north side's on 100.
So
So Central.
I can have another one in my lifetime. That's what you're
Nor
telling me. Excited to see, what'd you say, 186 new teachers this morning at Snyder High School. They got a nice welcome from administrative staff, and good to see. Hope that was a successful day, and we're almost there. What, 2 weeks from Wednesday, is that right?
That's correct.
First day of school, August 12th. Here we go. That's all.
All right, well, I also went to the new teacher orientation this morning, so it was great to see so many teachers, and hopefully we are close to having full capacity for this school year. And my brain just went completely blank, so that's all. Oh, and also congratulations to Coach Ike, also a Snyder grad, so he was a huge figure, even for those of us not on the football team. We had, in other athletics, we had summer gym, and Coach Ike was always out there, and he definitely got everybody in line, so congratulations.
To piggyback on that idea, I was a Snyder athlete and student, and I wanted to say that same thing. And Coach Hawley and Coach Isaacs and Coach Arnold, they were all very instrumental in all students, not just athletics, but all student success. And I'd love to say that's still happening in all of our schools, that our coaches are there, but they're there for the students in all aspects. So Coach Isaacs, the funny story about him is, even after retirement, and I spent many years listening to his code of conduct meetings when my kids went there, and it definitely, the words that are, take care of your teammates, do better for them than you do yourself, look out for them. That was a constant. And then even in 5th grade elementary school, Coach Isaacs would go and they would still have them at the schools at their graduation ceremonies, and I will remember forever hearing the story about the 5 and dime shop and his candy that his mom told him not to swing around a bag of candy, that she's going to lose all that candy that he'd spent, and then this candy goes flying everywhere, and she wouldn't let him eat a piece that went on the floor. And it was I remember that like it was yesterday, and my kids are now all out of high school, and that was their 5th grade commencement ceremony speech by Coach Isaacs, but it all came down to do what your mother says and tell her you love her. She was always be right, and I love that about that. Of course, I was the mother, right? So I do want to thank again Darren and Heather and their teams for the work that they did. I was happy for Steve that you brought that up when everybody was being congratulated, because every one of our, I feel like, in this building played a part in a role into doing something that we've never had. And I want to thank everybody. I know that as a graduate, of Snyder, I never thought I'd see the day. And I have so many community members who never went to Snyder, but they're just excited to come and come see the stadium. And 3 of them are huge orange wearers, and they just cannot wait to come see the stadium. So I told them I'd lend them some clothes when they came. So anyhow, thank you to everybody. And congratulations to everybody who's had a great summer, and we look forward to seeing you in a few weeks back in the classroom having successful first days. Thank you.
I won't speak anymore on the Snyder situation, but we all know how happy and excited we are for that to be happening within our district. But to transportation, I know 2 bus drivers personally. They're 2 good friends of mine, and they love what they do. And I will be asking them what it is that we can do to make sure all of our drivers are having the experience that they're having. So, but also maybe inquiring about what it is that we can do to help their experience even better. So, good job, keep it up. But they love what they do, and I'm happy to hear that from those bus drivers.
Dr. Dino?
So we also had another celebration. Sim Nelson was, he made the IHSA Football Hall of Fame. I didn't attend the event, but, you know, Sim passed away very early, way too early. But his sister was at the event, and Carol Nelson, I coached with Carol, so I know Carol a little bit. And she, her comment was, if Sim was here today, he would have said, it's about time. But you had people like the coach of San Diego,
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh sent a video. It was very impressive and praised Sim for being a person of character, person that just really enjoyed life. But also I want to say our Northside football coach was there with several team members, and they were on the stage with him. Did you attend that?
No, I did not.
No. They were on the stage as well and wrapped their arms around Carol and the Nelson family. So that was amazing. Yeah, the 100-year celebration began. The kickoff was last Saturday, and we had Mayor Helmke there, which I didn't realize. Mayor Helmke and Mayor Graham Richard were from the same class. And literally, he praised the teachers there and the faculty that helped inspire him in regards to the classics and his pursuit of the democratic process, specifically with the Greeks and so forth. So, but also Mayor Tucker, she sent a resolution saying it was Northside celebrate 100-year celebration day. So we're really appreciative of that. And we filled the entire, the front steps of Northside. There were so many people there, we couldn't fit them all on the steps. So that was pretty cool. Also, I know Darren's been meeting with some public transportation folks, and I just spoke with the gentleman today at Rotary, saying, hey, there are meetings coming up. So we're looking at all sorts of angles to find ways we can share public transportation. Or maybe public transportation can help us. Last but not least, registration. It's ongoing right now. That has gone digital. We do have a pop-up right now on our website, so it's very easy to register. But we're going to do some other things to promote registration. I think that's important. And we always are in need of staff. So I know Michelle's and her team have been working hard. We do have a job fair tomorrow evening. Want to reiterate that. Wednesday, like I said, Wednesday. So with that, looking forward to seeing that's going to happen. Again, yeah, I agree. It was very refreshing seeing, but it was sort of interesting hearing a lot of those people were returning to Fort Wayne Community Schools. So they just weren't new to us. So they're coming to us again, which was that was good to hear. Yeah. So thank you all for being there, and yep, getting ready for the start of school. So let's roll.
Yeah, I was with Tony and Julie and Dr. Dino at the new teacher orientation day. It was fun to see, as Dr. Dino said, some old familiar faces and some started to feel old faces because my friends' children were, and my daughter's friends were now becoming our teachers. So that's exciting. I welcome Jansen Garner, Allison Hagerfield, and Abby. She just got married. Drexler is not anymore, but Abby to Fort Wayne Community Schools. So that's fun and exciting. Steve's comment on Northside. That's exciting for them to be 100 years old. The other thing I'll say to my fellow board members and other people that get involved with graduation, I happened to attend Southside's 100th anniversary of graduation, and they gave us a little commemorative thing. And I have a really good friend who's both sides. Him and his wife both graduated Southside, and both extension arms of both their families graduated from Southside. And I let my buddy borrow the commemorative 100-year anniversary thing, and it ended up with his sister-in-law in California, and it doesn't appear to be coming back. So if you get the opportunity for Northside and all the other Northside graduates, that might be a fun thing for your friends and family in that vein. I have the luck and pleasure of serving on the Indiana School Board Association Legislative Committee. We met last week on Friday to start our conversations for the legislative agenda for 2027. It was reminded of us to remind our communities that our state closed out the fiscal year June 30th with a budget surplus, a large number of cash in savings and in reserves, and they're exceeding their projections each and every month in revenue projections. So the comment came, it's about time to support traditional public schools because that hasn't kept up with inflation. If we just look at keeping up with inflation, that'd be a big number. I understand that, but it'd be nice to be able to go to our teachers and staff and say, we can give you more than inflation for next year. So that was a big topic of conversation next week, and so more to be coming on that. I thank my fellow board members and the audience for the indulgence a little bit with the honoring of Coach Isaacs. As I said, he's been an important member to a lot of people's lives. In this role, we learn quickly while we have our roots. I'm a fan of a gentleman named Scott Van Pelt, who's on ESPN. He says everybody's from somewhere, and everybody has their own family or friends or groups they root for. Dr. Daniel roots for Northside. Many of us root for Snyder. Maria Elmhurst in her day, and Gary Lou Wallace, is that right? As I remember. IU fans along many of the board here too, Manchester fans, all different universities, but in this role, we are one voice of 7. We also represent all the schools, so not just Snyder or Elmhurst in this case. And it's truly my hope and belief that there's a Russ Isaacs in every one of our buildings, in every one of our classrooms, and everywhere throughout Fort Wayne Community Schools, because they truly make a difference. He truly made a difference, as did Coach Hawley and Coach Arnold in particular, on my life and many others. And of the 186 that showed up today, I hope they become the next Marv Arnold or Mike Hawley or Russ Isaacs. So with that, I conclude my comments and entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Have a good evening.